I'm a Roman Catholic priest. There's people say, yeah, so what? Well, I'm retired, and I roam around the Northwest here, kind of Western Washington, and so that's what I call myself, and it's a great experience. I have a suspicion that, as we say, I'm preaching to the choir, just to get a little test. How many people know of Anthony de Mello? I figured it would be just about everybody. So it's an introduction maybe for some, but getting in touch maybe for others. So what does this man meant for you and your spiritual path? So let's just pause briefly, so we have to watch time, and just be present to this moment. I'd have to say, when I first came into awareness of Anthony de Mello, I've never met him personally, only through his books and the tapes, I thought to myself, what's this Catholic priest, this Jesuit doing, talking about Eastern spirituality and all these different things? And a thing that's come to me since I've been here, I guess just a new awareness, I would know it already. We, of course, many of us are great, I don't know what we are, groupies, let's say, of Father Thomas Keating. Touched our lives in many ways, and we hear of Thomas Merton and Bede Griffiths, and so to me that's what's really interesting, that in our Catholic tradition there's this deep root of contemplative spirituality that maybe we haven't really appreciated ourselves much, and I also believe our church hasn't appreciated it as well either. So just this is for now just a little introduction to Anthony, and then this afternoon I want to use one of his sessions, and it's much more experiential and kind of like retreat-like perhaps. So, as I say, introduction or getting in touch again with a great Catholic Jesuit priest who's internationally regarded as a spiritual guide. He's a theologian, of course, a psychologist, public speaker. I like to use the word mystic for him. For me, that's certainly true. He was a theologian, but really only in the sense that he was a person who knew God, was in touch with God. Not theologian in the, I'm sure the head sense too, but much more in the heart, I think, for most of us. He most often expressed himself in stories, and he drew those stories, the ones that enlightened him in his spiritual journey. Some would consider him to be borderline Christian even in his way of speaking, and but he never crossed the line drawn by Jesus, assuming that Jesus did put a line there in the first place. I was talking to one of the Swamis last night at dinner, and he knows and has a great love of Anthony de Mello himself, and he said he really sounds Buddhist. And that's what I really love about Anthony de Mello, and again, as I first came to know him, it just kind of blew me away, and I thought, yes, this is what we need. And actually, I believe this is a flowering of who we are as Catholic Christian people. So his spirituality wasn't constrained by creeds, and yet he found within him to certainly stay very much within the Roman Catholic Church. A good friend of his once said that many who are walking now fly. Many who were simply obedient to rule. Tony has demonstrated there is nothing higher than simple obedience, namely the fulfillment of one finds through a free acceptance of God's loving plan in each one of us. I suppose you'd say the Bible of Tony DeMello was the Sadhana, the way to God, and he formed the Sadhana Institute. It's been translated into 20 different languages, and he wrote 3 other books in his lifetime, but many others were published after he died, which is a part of the problem that I'll get to in a minute. So the hallmark of Anthony's transformation was his introduction to, I'm not sure I pronounced this right, Vipassana, sorry. I tried to ask the Swami and he told me, but I didn't quite stick. And yet, it was really a transformational time in his life. His conferences center on that greater awareness of self-knowledge and the present moment. We Catholics call it the sacrament of the present moment, and how essential that is. So the conferences always seem to include that. This afternoon in the video, that's one part of the spiritual exercises we'll use. So the book Sadhana was, in fact, many of his books were part of seminars that he had given and was willing even to be recorded. And what a great gift that is to us, because he died, at the age of 57 or 56, and so how difficult that was for us to lose him so soon. But to have the books as well as that tape, to me, is a great thing. So the whole it's nothing new to us. The quieting of the body and the mind and the calm that it brings to us. And so, again, for Anthony DeMello, back in the 80s, to introduce that to many people back that far, and now we look back or look at the present and say, whoa, so what? I mean, of course, we all do that. That's part of our spiritual path. But I titled this talk The Pre-Dawn of InterSpirituality, because as I got to thinking about Anthony, I thought, well, if this is the dawn of InterSpirituality, here's a guy, and many others, but for me anyway, it's the pre-dawn, and now I in some ways I think it's the flowering of InterSpirituality, but anyway, it's pre-dawn, and I think that's where he is. So he was the ultimate storyteller. This is kind of my homily preparation Bible, the Song of the Bird. Many, many stories, all different topics. You don't go to the dictionary, the index to look. You follow through. I go to the index in the beginning and look at the titles, so that the titles can't quite get me to what I want. I read and then just comes to light. Just last Saturday night, I was in Bellingham, and of course Anthony DeMello was there too with me in a quote. So just many of us, I've talked to my Presbyterian pastor friend Barry Keating. Barry's on our board, and he'll be here, I think, today sometime. He says, I use Anthony DeMello all the time. Many do. So those great storytellers are so wonderful. Sufi mystics, Zen masters, Hindu mystics, many others he uses. So he was Eastern enough to realize the tremendous value of a story. He said the great value of a story is that it will worm its way into your heart and break down the barriers to the divine. And I'm looking at Jamal back there, and to me, that's one of the great gifts of Jamal, is especially Rumi. He's, I don't know if Rumi's my second greatest hero, or guru, but he's getting up there through Jamal. So a great storyteller. Well, as a good Jesuit, he pushed the envelope, as they say. 11 years after he died, a Vatican agency charged with preserving church doctrine issued a notification concerning his writings, and said that they were some not consistent with Catholic doctrine or could be misleading. I've been asked. Pardon?
What year was that?
1997. Died in 86, yeah. So one of my one of the rabbis was asking me about that. So just to say a little bit about that. After Anthony died, then, as I said earlier, these books were written. People had gone to conferences and wrote down their notes and published them under his name. I don't want to say that that was the only reason why the Vatican had some concerns, but that was a good part of it. And luckily, his brother, Bill, just recently published the book of the biography. 1 minute, whoa. Well, the biography, and talks about if Anthony were alive when this came up, he would have said, okay, well, let me tell you it in a different way. So that's the case. So anyway, that ban has been lifted. It was done under the auspices of Cardinal Ratzinger, who was our top cop before he became Pope. And anyway, they're on his books now, not these. These were, I got these before the ban, but now they're still published and you can get them on Amazon and so forth. There's supposed to be a little caution thing in there. I see that as not a liability at all, but in fact, an accreditation. And so, as we'll see in his presentation this afternoon, one of the great statements I like about Anthony, many, I'm going to quote some here, but he said the same thing, that no word, no thought, no expression can even come close to describing God. Yeah, you know, in our Christian and Catholic theology, oh no, God, Father, Son, and Spirit, and all these things, and I don't deny that, and I love that part, but that's still not, we can't say we've got a handle on God, and that's of course what I think we love by being involved in InterSpirituality. So there was a controversy. I say was. Some people may not see it that way, but he was that wonderful bridge. That's why I think he's one of the apostles of that bridge between, I'd say, all of Christianity and InterSpirituality and Eastern mysticism, and that's why I love him so much. So anyway, this afternoon we'll look at one of his sessions. Just like to end my little presentation here with, in his own words, quotes. These are from the Song of the Bird. It is infinitely easier for an elephant to get into the trunks of a rat than for God to fit into our scholarly notions of him. The man who is consistently aware, the man who is totally present at each moment, behold the Master. If you wish to see God, look attentively at creation. Don't reject it, don't reflect on it, just look at it. The Japanese warrior was arrested by his enemies and thrown into a prison cell. At night he could not sleep, for he was convinced that he would be cruelly tortured the next day. Then the words of his Zen master came to his mind. Tomorrow is not real. The only reality is the present. So he came to the present and fell fast asleep. And finally, a religious belief is a signpost pointing to the way of truth. People who cling tenaciously to the signpost are prevented from moving toward the truth because they have the false feeling they already possess it. And on and on and on. There's many. So these books are going to be down for display down in the library for the rest of the time if you want to take a look at them. And you can get them from Amazon.com. And so do I have just...
Yeah, sure. There's time for some questions. Thank you,
Oh,
Jim.
good. Okay.
Any questions?
Or comment. I'd like to hear, from you about, so what does this man, how's he touched your life? Or if you have any questions, of course.
I'm curious, Jim, what your perspective then on some of these later books, like the book Awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Is that from your point of view, this is an authentic de Mello text?
Yes. I think they're all authentic, but, some of it's lost in translation. Mm-hmm. But I don't, in my opinion anyway, there's not enough of that to, it's true de Mello. Yeah.
So which one would you recommend if you're going to get?
Well,
What are the three?
okay, well, this is
Letters of Paul.
actually, number one is Sadhana, A Way to God. That's number one. Now, for me, Song of the Bird is just, but his brother Bill writing the biography, to me, it's quite new. Let's see, I just got it a month or two ago. Oh gosh, it's just this year. So, yeah, it's very new.
Does he have stories in there? Or just about?
Some stories are quoted, yeah, but this isn't all the others have got many, many stories. Retreat Conference, Heart of the Enlightened is a book of story meditations. I'm sure Rumi's probably in there too. So don't be put off at all by Jesuit or Catholic or any of that stuff. It doesn't get in the way at all. I don't want to say stuff, it's important, but.
Well, question really good. It was really appreciated.
Good. Thank you.